The 10 pound note, written by Bojina, read by Venkat. Hi, let me start by introducing myself. I'm 1 year old, British, and my name is. I don't have a name. I'm a 10 pound note, and that is what I'm called. I was printed by the Bank of England just over a year ago. And looking back, I can see how excited I was to start my journey in this world. Let me share with you my journey and the adventures that I have had during this year. I was first taken out of an ATM cash machine by a very rich man called Lee. I think it was on the New Year's Eve. He wanted money for a bottle of very expensive champagne on a New Year Day's party. But he never bought that champagne because by the time he had arrived at the bar to order his drink, all his friends had already left. During my first few days in his wallet, I was very impressed with Lee's lifestyle. I thought to myself, he must be a very happy man. He can afford all that he needs, craves, and desires. He ate lunch and dinner at expensive posh restaurants and drank vintage wines. He hired taxis to travel wherever he went. I do not know the reason why he did not drive himself, even though he owned 2 cars. I presume that maybe it was because he was usually under the influence of alcohol, or maybe he considered it too much effort to drive. He always wore designer clothes, overpriced jewelry, and smoked the finest cigarettes. He spent money on a whole lot of other things that I did not even know existed. The best thing I liked about Lee was the smell of his luxury aftershave. At first, I thought to myself that I did not mean anything to him, but very soon I realized that I, was all that he had. Lee did not even have an interesting hobby. He lived on the money that his parents and grandparents had earned. Lee woke up and went to bed all alone. Occasionally, he met his friends for lunch or dinner, but whenever I overheard their conversations, they were usually shallow and pointless. Lee and his friends usually bragged about how much money they had spent, how little spending money meant to them. I thought it was more or less like a competition between Lee and his friends, deciding who had the more unnecessary things, the largest house, the best cars, and the most luxurious lifestyle. I questioned myself, is this all humans do? It was at a dinner he gave me away as a tip to a waitress to impress his friends. Don't worry about the change, darling. Get yourself some sweets, Lee said to the waitress, winking his eye at her and asking, can you please go and get me that bottle of whiskey? I could see her blushing as she looked down on the tip tray. That is probably the biggest tip that she had ever received. I think that she was embarrassed to have to wait on Lee and his friends. She rushed back, bringing the bottle that Lee had ordered. After a few drinks, Lee and his friends got a little drunk. They became very loud and disrespectful towards the surrounding environment and the people sitting nearby. The manager of the restaurant came to Lee's table and politely asked them to be quiet. But Lee and his friends started to talk down to the manager. Lee and his friends assumed that the fact that they had more money made them in some way better than others. Their behavior did not surprise me, but I must confess that I was ashamed of being with Lee. The security had to come and escort Lee and his friends out of the restaurant. With each step Lee took away from me, I was feeling happier and happier that I would no longer have to be a part of his meaningless life. The waitress picked me up and put me in her pocket. Her name was Ina. Ah, new owner, new adventures, I thought to myself. I spent a few excellent months with her. Ina was very kind with everyone, and in contrast to Lee, she spent her money very carefully. She lived with her brother in a small flat, and I can still remember that their house always was filled with the fragrance of brightly colored flowers. Once in an Italian shop, she saw a dress which I should say that she really adored. She was talking about that dress to her friends for weeks, wondering if she should buy it or not. Her friends advised her to buy it as it might go out of stock. She even went to the shop twice and tried it on. I looked at her in the mirror and even I admired her in that dress. One day, I heard Ina take a deep breath and give out a long sigh before whispering to herself, one day I will have enough money to spend on this dress. But this month, I need money to pay for my brother's tuition fee. As Ina decided against the purchase. The friendly shopkeeper smiled at her and said, next time you should buy this. Ina returned the smile and left the shop. I felt upset for her. She always worked very hard and still could not afford to buy what she wanted. In addition to her job as a waitress in the restaurant, she also had to take care of the house. Even though her brother helped her in the day-to-day activities, she did most of the cleaning, tidying up, vacuuming, washing the clothes. Well, she definitely deserved the dress. But she had to spend most of her money on the rent, bills, food for her and her brother, and other things. I always remember Ina cooked absolutely delicious food. When she would serve the food, the entire room would be filled with aroma. Although Ina lived a simple life, she remained happy. She loved her brother a lot and they spent most of their free time together. They went for long walks, had interesting conversations about various things, including their dreams and ambitions in life. Ina often asked her brother for advice and guidance, and he always seemed to have an answer for any of her questions. When Ina was anxious about the uncertainties of future, he would say with a smile, "Don't worry, Ina. If life gives us problems, it will also give us solutions." I found it very interesting to see that Ina managed to appreciate all the aspects of her life. If it was a sunny day, she would sit in the sun and read her favorite novels in the park. If it rained, she would say, "Well, rain is good for the plants. I don't have to water them today." She was happy to go to work because she knew that she could earn some money. She was even happy during the holiday as she could spend some time with those she loved. I seldom saw her being upset. Ina was always positive and cheerful. There was a day in which someone else appreciated her too. It was almost midday in work when her boss called her. "Ina, You have been working very hard. Here is a small gift for you, he said, handing her an envelope. She was very surprised and thanked him for the gift. When she opened it, she was able to see that her boss had given her a bonus. She felt very valued and was very happy about it. At last, Ina could buy the dress she really liked so much. The same day, she went to the shop and exchanged me and few other notes for that much desired dress. I've bought the new dress now, she said to the shopkeeper with a gleam in her eyes. The shopkeeper replied, I'm very sure you'll like it. On my part, I had mixed feelings. I was glad for Ina that she now had the dress that she so much desired for. But also, I felt disappointed about having to leave her. The next days I spent in the cashier till of the dress shop. The shopkeeper took me out and placed me in his wallet. My new owner was an Italian named Fabio. His parents had immigrated to the UK when he was very young. I soon recognized him to be an extremely lively and friendly person, the typical character of a successful shopkeeper. He would often say, smile warmly and have a lively conversation with people. That is how you get more customers. He practiced what he preached. He always engaged in humorous conversations with all his customers. He was such an energetic person, it came to me as a Himalayan surprise when I overheard that he was suffering from terminal blood cancer. The doctors had said that he had very few months to live. Maybe that was the reason that he was so active and so spontaneous. I presume that he just wanted to make sure that he made the most of every moment that he had to live. He always used to say, don't wait for the perfect moment. Take a moment and make it perfect. He was living with his wife, son and daughter. He did not sleep much. As soon as the sun turned up on the horizon, he was up, and it wasn't until late that he was going to bed. My favorite part of the day was the dinner time. The whole family would sit together around the table and talk about what they did during the day. The daughter usually spoke about her boyfriend. The son usually told stories about his adventures in school or with his friends. Each of the family members were different, but they all accepted and appreciated each other just the way they were. Fabio loved them all very much. To me, they were a perfect family, and Fabio seemed like a perfect husband and father. Almost perfect, except for that horrible cancer that will separate him from his family. I thought to myself, if only people could buy health. On a sunny day, Fabio and his family went to the beach. I had never been to a beach before, so I was very excited. The squeak of the sand under their feet, the quiet hum of the ever-recurring waves, the warm sun shining above their heads, and the cooling wind breeze ruffling through the people's hair. Wow, that was excellent. Fabio and his family were running around the beach and playing games for the whole day. In the evening, they all went to a coffee shop next to the beach. Fabio exchanged me for a few cold beverages for his kids and some for him and his wife. I was very glad that I had a chance to be a part of that family for a while. But I am also happy to move on to a different owner and excited about what life has in store for me. The lady who ran the coffee shop was my new owner. I vaguely I vaguely recall her name was Emily. I was getting used to being passed from hand to hand, from one person to another, and understood that I am not permanently with one person. She was very different to all my previous owners. She had a big family and many friends. I don't know how many brothers and sisters she had in total. She had a husband, but I don't even remember his name. I hardly saw any of them. She was working all the time and never had time for anything or anybody else. All she had time was to earn more money. She spent all her days in the shop and she did not even have time to spend what she had earned. She just wanted to earn more money. I could not understand the purpose of wanting to earn more and more money. Even though her coffee shop was pretty close to the amazing beach Fabio took me to, I never once remember her going to the beach and relaxing there for a while. Sometimes her family came to say hello to her, but she seemed not to have any time for them. She was so preoccupied with making sure all her customers spent as much money as they could in her shop. She was neither happy nor sad. She was just busy, too busy, too busy to stop, take a breath, and reflect on her life. If only she could spend a day with Fabio and his family, maybe she would realize how important it is for her to spend time with her family. If only I could talk to her and tell her of what I know. I thought to myself. One December evening, when Emily was walking home from work, I noticed that there was a celebratory atmosphere around. The shops were all decorated and everyone seemed to be happy. People were singing and dancing in the streets, which were full of good cheer and joy. That is when I realized that it was the New Year's Eve again. Emily stopped and looked at the fireworks blasting high up into the sky. Crowds of people looked up at the burgundy and turquoise colored rockets with awe. This was like a different world to me. Everyone in the street stood by their friends and family, but the busy Emily was standing all alone. I do not profess to shed light upon the thoughts that were occurring inside her head, but I could see that she was reflecting on something. Maybe she was thinking of her happy childhood days in which she was always playing with her friends. Maybe it brought out some sense of inner peace or wonder. Maybe she was wondering how much she was missing in her life due to her being so busy. Well, I do not really know what her thoughts were. All I could say was that she might have been contemplating on how little I was really worth in comparison to her family, health, and happiness. At last she might have realized, I thought to myself. She looked around her and then saw a homeless man shivering in the cold, asking people for money. Emily took me out of her pocket and gave me to him. "Thank you, madam. Happy New Year," he said. Emily smiled back at him and left. I wished that she enjoys the rest of her life, spending more time with her family. The homeless person looked at me and squeezed me really hard, as if he had not seen a 10-pound note for a very long time. Clearly, Even though he didn't have any money and seemed hungry, he was cheerfully enjoying that moment, looking up at the sky to see the fireworks. Now he could buy himself some food and appreciate the atmosphere of the New Year's party even more. I thought to myself, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I know this homeless person. I thought to myself, I know him. Guess who? It was Lee. I couldn't help but wonder about the impermanence of life and everything around.